What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Punisher Season 1, Episode 12, Home. So this really does kind of almost feel like the climax of the season, mainly because Frank gets to take on Rollins in this episode, and you kind of knew it was coming. Honestly, once again, I feel like this episode is pretty predictable, much like the rest of the season, and I don't say that saying that I didn't enjoy it or that it wasn't good. I'm a little disappointed that it's not being a bit more unpredictable in how it's set up. When Lieberman gets shot, obviously he's not dead because they set this whole thing up. They worked with Homeland and then Homeland shows up. You really think they're careless enough to just shoot Lieberman? Like it didn't feel right. I'm just like, okay, so let me guess. Either somebody else shot him, it wasn't Homeland, or he's not actually dead and it was all a setup. It was all a setup. Um, I did like the reaction whenever he finally gets to be back with his family because it feels very right. It feels very realistic. Even though I have seen this before in other shows where somebody is thought to be dead and then turns out to be alive, this reaction of like anger but also just overwhelming joy. So it's kind of like a mixture of the two. I've seen that before as well, but it felt justified in this sense. But yeah, that was a good scene. Obviously, everything to do with Frank in this episode is just, you feel like it's building up to that final scene. And I kind of had a sense that Billy was going to turn on Rollins, and sure enough, he did. And I don't know why. It just, something didn't quite sit right with me most of this season. I kind of had a sense of this feels like it's going to lead to, Billy, even though he's working for Rollins, it doesn't feel like he really trusts him. It doesn't feel like he really wants to work for him, but he does because it pays well. The money is there for him, and that's why he does it. And so, sure enough, whenever Rollins finally presses those buttons that just sets him off a little bit, he sets it up to where Frank has the ability to fight back and then end up killing him. So, I don't know, I just had the sense that this is what it was going to lead to eventually, where Billy would sort of betray Rollins, and Rollins wouldn't really be the main bad guy, because especially over the past couple episodes, it really felt like Billy was taking more of the center stage as far as the one that Frank was going to go up against this season. And he really feels like he's going to be the one where it feels like it's going to be a situation where Frank is going to have a chance to kill him, but he's not going to. Because, one, Billy has been his friend and pretty much his family for as long as he can remember. But also, I kind of feel like, especially some of what he said to Frank in this episode, how he didn't want to just kill him. He didn't want to make it easy for him. He didn't want to give them the easy way out. How death was just, he wants Frank to experience death a different kind of way. And I kind of get a sense that Frank's going to do the same thing to him. He's going to leave him broken. He's going to probably have to do something with his mom, if I had to guess. I'm not entirely sure because we had that one scene. I didn't talk about it because it was so short. But we had that one scene earlier on where we see Billy go talk to his mom, and we find out that apparently she left him in foster homes, and that's why he grew up with kind of a rough childhood, which led to him being a bit of a psychopath. So I kind of feel like maybe she'll play into it somehow, whether Frank goes to kill her to sort of take that ability away from him, or even maybe just sets her free so that way he can't keep her around anymore. There are a couple different things that I think could possibly happen there, but I just feel like it's going to come to a situation where Frank's solution this entire season has just been kill whoever's there, just kill him, get him out of the picture, and solution, problem solved. So I feel like with Billy, it's going to be a bit different. He's not going to be able to kill him. Killing him is just going to be too easy. In fact, I feel like at some point Billy may even try to just kill himself in this last episode. Maybe, I don't know, Frank may push him over the edge and cause him to think that way, but then Frank's going to take that ability away from him to sort of torture him even more. But yeah, I don't know. I'm getting this sense that it's not going to end with Billy just dying. It's going to be a bit more than that because Frank wants to get his revenge, and what Billy did to him, allowing his family to die, allowing him to go through this pretty much living hell, is going to be a bit more than just, oh, I kill Billy and that's the end of the story. At least that's what I hope. If that's not how it ends, I feel like it's going to be a bit too easy, unless they have another explanation for it. Not entirely sure. But yeah, overall, I mean, this was a really good episode. The action was once again intense. It felt realistic. Everything felt like it was really flowing very well in the narrative. I like the little plan that Micro and Frank had set up, where he gets this chance to kill Rollins while still leaving Madani what she needs to take them down after all is said and done. But ultimately, Micro feels he can't let Frank die, so he helps her out, and then also helps Frank out in the end, which it really does fit Micro's character. It's not what he wants to do. He's not the type of person to just let Frank die because, oh, my family's here and that's all I need. No, he's formed a friendship with him. And I like that scene at the end where he's just like, come on, call me a son of a bitch, call me a piece of shit, like just trying to get him to wake back up. I really like that scene because it felt like it's justified after everything they've been through this season. So, yeah, I mean, that's about all for this episode. It wasn't really a lot happened. It was mainly just Frank and Micro at the beginning getting taken. Well, Frank getting taken, and then most of it was just Frank getting tortured, Micro getting to be reunited with his family, and then at the end, that final scene with Frank and Rollins, him taking him down in the most brutal way possible. And then, of course, Homeland Security showing up to save Frank in the end, so he has one more chance to go after Billy. But yeah, that's about it for this episode. So one more before we're done with this first season, and I'm really looking forward to it. So see you guys there. And finally, episode 13, Memento Mori. So season finale, of course, like I said in the last one, has been building up to this fight between Billy and Frank, and it's really been building up for the past few episodes. So super excited to see it, and ultimately, I mean, it was a good fight. It was very intense, a lot of different pieces moving around. It starts off with him, with Billy going after Kurt, and then Frank shows up because he knew he'd be there, and then it's kind of a bit of a standoff, so then they go to the place where Frank lost his family, and so it's kind of a bit of a shootout between them there. There are these two kids that Bill brought in who are bleeding out, and kind of it kind of fits Bill's. I mean, it fits his personality. It fits who he is as a character. To use these underhanded tactics because he knows if it's just one on one, him against Frank, even with Frank in kind of this wounded, weakened position, he knows he's gonna lose. He knows he has to put himself in a position where he has the upper hand, and so he does stuff like this. Kidnaps these two random kids that are working at the park, and then ties them up and starts having them bleed out. So that way Frank has to come to him. And whenever, Frank is hiding out, he's like, all right, enough of this. I'll shoot them if you don't come out. And it's one of those things where I kind of feel like it does fit him, but it also feels a bit like a cliche. It's a way for them to make the fight a bit more even, which I still feel like they are pretty evenly matched even without that. And so I wish we had gotten a bit more of just a one-on-one fight without Billy pulling all this stuff. I want to just see them go up against each other. Even playing ground, equal playing ground. Just see what would happen. Because ultimately what we got was Billy does underhanded tactics to gain the upper hand, and then Madani steps in to help out, distracts Billy for a second, so then Frank can gain the upper hand. And it just didn't feel like it was a true one-on-one battle, and that's kind of what I wanted between these two after this entire season. I wanted to see them just take each other on. So I was a little disappointed by that, not enough to really ruin the end of the season. It was still a good fight. Ultimately, I kind of realized I had wanted to say something about this, and if I had, it would have seemed like I was really, really good at predicting the show. But I did think by the end, I'm like, okay, so this entire season, Billy has not been involved in one fight. And they keep talking about, how he's got the nice suits, he's got the pretty face and all that stuff. I wanted to say somewhere along the way, I feel like the final fight is going to have him become, like, really badly damaged in his face, just as the irony, because it felt like the more that they were talking about that, how, oh, you're not really in the fight anymore, oh, you send guys to do your bidding, your dirty work, you don't really get yourself dirty anymore. The more they kept talking about that, the more I just got in my mind, they're setting it up for him to be disfigured, right? That's exactly what happens. Shot in the face, first of all, which that was it was a pretty gruesome first shot because it goes through his cheek. He spits out the bullet, and I'm like, dang. And then on top of that, now they're beating each other, and then Frank drags his face across a mirror, and I'm just like, oh my God, the brutal nature of this fight. It's intense. And ultimately, it leaves him really, really badly disfigured. And, oh, the irony. he's looked so good all season. Madani even fell for his good looks. And now at the end of it all, he's just this beaten, ugly looking thing. They've wrapped up his face entirely because it's just so bad to look at. So he's clearly coming back. Like I said, I knew after last episode, I just had this inkling that he was going to survive. I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. Ultimately, it did come down to a choice for Frank, though, where he's stabbed him, he's beaten him down, and he has a chance to kill him, and he's like, no, dying's too easy. I want you to live with the pain. Kind of similar to what he said to him last episode. So, like I said, it was pretty predictable, but I feel like because the characters were so interesting, because the story was good, because the action was really, really good, I was able to get involved. Even if it was kind of predictable, even if I've seen the story similarly done in other shows and movies, I still feel like because I was fully invested in these characters, I didn't mind as much. I didn't really care that, oh, I've seen this done before. Oh, I predicted this from 3 episodes ago. I feel like I still enjoyed myself, which is good. You never want to feel like, oh, this is just, I saw this coming a mile away. This was way too predictable. I didn't enjoy that. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode as a whole. I like the fact that we got to see Frank sort of get a reprieve from the government because honestly, he kind of deserved it for all the work he did for them behind the scenes. And the fact that he kind of got screwed over in the first place, I feel like it does make sense for them to go, we don't necessarily agree with what you've done. We don't necessarily say it's okay what you've done, but because you were put through so much crap because of Rollins and what he did, we're gonna let you have this. We're gonna let you live this life, but you got to go on as Pete. You can't be Frank. You've got to be done. So yeah, I did enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that Frank does get a pass after everything that happened this season because he kind of does deserve it. But yeah, it leaves the door open to see what's going to happen next. Billy is still alive and he's going to be horribly disfigured, so maybe he comes back as a villain later on. Madani, I do like the fact that she sort of got the last laugh. Even though he did get a shot off and seriously wound her, she managed to survive. And like she says, she wants a chance to tell him, look him in the eyes and say, hey, I was a part of your downfall. So I do like that fact. I like the fact that she sort of gets the last laugh in the end. Ultimately, Frank goes into Curtis's group to sort of tell his story and talk to them in a safe space. So kind of showing that he's in a bit of an unknown territory right now. He doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't have a fight to fight anymore. So what's next? What does he do now that the war is over? The battle to get revenge and get justice for his family, that's done. Well, what is there left to do? And I'm kind of curious. I've already seen there is a season 2 coming, so clearly something's going to happen. Is he going to be involved in any of the other Netflix shows? I don't know, possibly. So there's a chance that maybe something that happens in one of those other shows leads to what happens in season 2 of The Punisher. But overall, I mean, this season, it was good. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was good. It was enjoyable. It was pretty much what I expected. It was a very brutal show because you got the Punisher as your main character. It has to be brutal. It was a well-written story. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed getting to see him get the revenge for his family. And ultimately, it's one of those, it's like the perfect anti-hero show. It's that character that has been wronged and he's been wronged and he's going to kill people, and it's kind of like, yeah, I get it. It's not a character that you can't get behind, even though he is doing such horrible and terrible things and killing people in such horrible ways. So yeah, overall, I mean, it was a really good first season. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they can do. As far as the other Netflix shows, I'm going to try to get through all of these shows as quickly as possible so I can get back to the other shows that I haven't finished yet. But ultimately, I don't really know much about what happens in the other shows. I don't know really much of anything. I've heard that Iron Fist got canceled after season 2, so I guess people still didn't enjoy it. I personally didn't see as many flaws as I think some other people saw. I enjoyed certain aspects of it. I knew it was the weakest show out of all of them, but ultimately, I was kind of surprised to see, because he was such a big part of the universe, I guess, mainly because he was fighting the Hand, and that was kind of the main bad guy for the Defenders. But yeah, I was sort of surprised to see it get canceled so soon. But aside from that, I don't really know if any of the other seasons of these other Netflix shows are good or bad or somewhere in between. So I am looking forward to seeing it. As far as this one goes, though, this was a good one. This was, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8, because it was good. It was enjoyable. I love the action. Definitely the best part of it for me. because it was exactly what I expected out of a show called The Punisher. It was very brutal. It was very realistic. The story, while it was kind of predictable, I still enjoyed the characters in it. I enjoyed getting to see Frank as a character go from this guy who's just trying to live his life and then gets pulled back into this and has to fight. And that's kind of his character. He's a character that knows how to fight. He's a character that loves the fight. So the fact that the action scenes were the best part of this season makes a lot of sense because that's who the Punisher is. So I just feel like all in all, this is exactly what I wanted to see out of the first season of The Punisher. I'm looking forward to seeing this character grow more. I think John Bernthal is a perfect pick for it because he is. I don't know. I can't think of anybody else that could portray the Punisher like he does. So aside from that, there's not really much I could think about. Not sure if Lieberman's going to come back in season 2. I feel like his arc has sort of run its course. Even though I did like the team that he and Frank formed, I feel like his story is over now. He goes back to his family. He's there with them now. He doesn't need to leave again. So I'm kind of hoping that they just sort of say, all right, he's done. Maybe have a cameo here and there. But I don't want to see him again in season 2 because I feel like that would just sort of ruin everything you've done in season 1. Madani, though, I think she should come back. She was a great character, sort of a good foil for Frank. I hope Billy returns as a villain because he's got that sort of personal vendetta against Frank. Obviously, Curtis is going to be coming back. And aside from that, though, I don't really know what to expect for season 2. So, yeah, all in all, it's a good season, good start. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of these Netflix shows have in store. But that's it for me, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this season? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Punisher reviews and the other Netflix shows, of course. And I'll see you guys in the next show. Peace out.